running through our third operating round without a stock round yet. Privates, miners. The miners are becoming more problematic. First of all, not all of them are on the board. This was always a problem with these games with numbered miners. The number is necessary, though. Like my complaint about the number versus flag, it doesn't apply here. You still have to know the order of them. So as they start to disappear, you have a harder time. Hey, we're on the 1. Well, what's next? Well, now it's the 3, and then it's the 5. You kind of have to be aware of the ones that aren't. Now, you could have the missing ones set aside in a way that they're apparent, or at least they're tokens. That would help a bit. Okay. Another thing that's happening is money's changed a little bit for them, because some of them are set up for something kind of nice. The 2+2 train's available now, which doesn't help a lot of them. For example, this guy, he's not hitting any doinkers, but this guy, wow, he's hitting 40, 60, 80 bucks. And I mean, one of the interesting things that you notice immediately is these guys never upgrade, but they're 10 bucks higher than you're used to doinkers being. Hence these huge numbers on the tiles. Those are familiar tiles if you've been playing 18xx, but there's a slight difference. They're higher value, which is really kind of cool because it's just as valuable to hit those as it is the initial cities. The initial cities will grow, though, so that's kind of your differentiation. But at certain points, you obviously have a serious advantage to keep running them. BCR here, first of the big companies to run every turn, setting itself up to hook up. I did not buy an extra train. An extra train would be appealing, but I don't really want a 2+2. I would rather pay the same price for a 3 train, which can run me 1, 2, 3. I am going to want this token. I bought this one for 40 bucks. I like that token. It has potential of getting me into French Indochina or somewhere else cool. And these UUs advance. They're no better than regular double cities, but they become neat little bottlenecks. Necessary? Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't so wise, but I wanted to get my $40 token out. I'm used to UUs being more valuable, so that kind of mindset got in place. And it's kind of interesting in the dynamic here. Is that, for example, this guy, he's still got his investor. So maybe he wants to keep the 2+2 trains out. Well, not particularly, not because of his situation. So crushing his becomes interesting, and then maybe he wants to push time forward by buying more trains. And that's where I'm kind of looking at the 3 train, which may not be as advantageous as the 2+2 in general, but in my particular track setup, it's more appealing. 2+2 trains are beginning to drop here. You can see Binzu, he's got a plan to kind of run down here, start the Vladivostok hookup. Once there's a big enough train, you can run this, but right now, no. And he's been keeping his private kind of separate, or his foreign investor separate. Another similar, but not quite the same, the Wunan, looping around. He's bought a 2+2 so he can run this, but that's going to crush his Portuguese investors. They're making a lot of money. They're pretty cool, but on the other hand, the 2+2s are running low. We're down to 3 remaining now. Buying one definitely helped do that, but we're planning on crushing them out and probably taking this dot. We actually have room for another 2+2 if we want it. And barely enough money. Oh, do we want it? Do we want to push trains that much? Well, if we're getting rid of our miner, I think the answer is actually yes. This is scary. This is extreme play, which we are allowed. Like, how many trains? 4 trains per company, so this is not a problem. So buy a 3rd train. And now we look really, really attractive as a company. What's this going to do? I don't know, because other people are buying trains too. So even though the price is kind of high, the trains scoop up in value real fast in this game. There's still enough money to keep purchasing them out, so I may have a long time that I can run with 3 trains on my company, and that looks pretty sweet to me. The kind of view of someone who can't change anything. They're not in a bad shape. The Xinjiang is running the Taiwan run with the bonus and everything, making $8 a share, but I don't have a lot of shares. I'm holding 2 shares. There's people, and I got these guys running, so there's a 3rd share, but there's people sitting here. This guy has 2, 3, 4, 5 shares. Oh, and I gotta remember to pay out to the people who are holding other people's shares. It still feels so early in the game, but yeah, there's people sitting on other people's stuff. The point I was trying to make. Shit. I must not have deleted my old videos. I'm gonna have to find this. He's got all the train that he needs right now. There's nothing more he can use. So that's kind of a problem. And it doesn't help that he's cut off until the greens come. He could drive into here eventually or come up this way or something. There are things he can do once the greens come out, but right now he has no track lays, no train purchases that he can he can make one, but that are legitimately useful? No, not really. Make it back down to the end of the line. A couple of companies that have a lot of trains, maybe not the ones they want. So this Hukun here has 2 trains. Wow, I'd like a 2+2, wouldn't I? That would help a lot, but not enough to blow $180 on one, maybe? I chose not to. Maybe I should have, because I don't have any, I don't have a private investor anymore. Pushing the train seems like a good idea, but maybe I don't need to push the trains, although the 2+2 would be sweet in and of itself. Is it the $80 sweet? That's where kind of, I don't want a 3, but maybe a 3+3 is good enough at that higher price. What I have to consider though is what's going on up here. So the BCR, the other companies, are they going to buy trains? The BCR's only got a deuce. It would like a 3 train. Yeah, it's probably not going to buy a 2+2 because it's going to wait on the 3. I don't know. Might not even connect up while I wait on that. But might, because they kind of aren't making the biggest money off their private investor, foreign investor. Yeah, I'm not good with words. I'm not good at speaking to humans. It's just such a great Enrico quote. The CKR here. Are they likely to? Well, no, they have 2 trains. This is going to crash in. I'm not going to take the token there. I think that's pretty obvious. A plus train might be useful, but I don't really need it. Next, BCU has 2 trains. Probably isn't interested in getting another one. Same thing with the Wunan, which means all the trains are going to go. And we're going to hit a stock round after this guy goes, assuming nothing weird happens. And that's one of the things. If we weren't going to hit a stock round, let's say I did buy that 2+2, just to delay the game a little longer before it starts breaking out. If we don't get a stock round, that means people are accumulating money that's just sitting there. That's never a good thing in an XX game. You want to turn your money quickly. And given that he's sitting on about as much money as anyone, he would like to invest that. So I'm fine with getting to a stock round. All right, time for some little mechanical tasks here. Hey, people are almost up to making increased income off their companies just due to stock value. Sweet. Speaking of stock value, there's something I forgot. These guys. These guys had all their available shares out. They should be up in price value. So that's the HKR and the Sincan are both up in value. That should have happened back at the end of the first stock round, but no biggie. It hasn't affected a damn thing in the game yet. So running the privates and then the miners, the foreign investors. The foreign investors, two of them crashed. First one over here into the BCR, gave a token. That's the $100 tokens. That's pretty cool. And not a lot of money in there, but after all the payouts, including the $50 bonus. And then the French one also crashed in, and that gave a decent amount of cash as a payout. And you can see the BCR is one of the companies that's not making a lot. The players who are on the low end of the cash spectrum, and also he doesn't have a private company, same situation as this guy, don't have a lot of cash, whereas this guy's got a private company and he was able to pull a decent amount of cash out of the French investor. And we run through and we've made the train cycle. Let me explain. BCR with the 2 train, they really want another train with this big route, but they don't want a 2+2. They want a 3 train. I don't mind passing. There's still a couple of these left. They're actually pretty cool trains. Probably better than the 3 trains at this stage in the game for most companies. Maybe they should have bought one. Because actually they could run a 2 and a 3. Yeah, they're fine. They just don't need the 3 train or the 2+2 train. But conceivably they could run it down here. The problem is the 2+2 doesn't last quite as long. It goes out on the 4+ floor while the 3 lasts until the 6. So holding out a little bit for a same price train seems like a good idea. And they actually really kind of need a 3 train here. They can't run the 2+2 on what they have there. So yeah, they did not want that. CKR has a couple of trains and not a lot of track. 2+2 would have been nice because that could get us to French Indochina. We're not hitting that anymore. But again, maybe we want some other train instead. But right now, we're really not that interested in the extra run money for that. Buying another train that we couldn't run right away didn't seem like a great idea. We also have a lot of cash, so looking at what everybody else had, it didn't look like anybody wanted to buy a train. So, for example, the Bizou, they're set up for what they have, 2 trains, and the WNR, the Wunan, has an extra train already because they were trying to push the trains out a little bit, maybe, I don't know. I really don't, because they had a use for 2 2+2s, but I think they overbought. So they obviously don't want to buy another train. They hooked up, and this is especially unfortunate for them because they're not going to have the conversion of the Portuguese over, which means there's a pile of cash that they would have gotten from hooking that up, which they just did, that they're not going to get going into this stock round. First thing that happens is these guys just disappear. They are not in the game anymore, which means the 3 train is now available, not yet purchased, so we don't get a phase change there. And now we slip into a stock round with priority up here. And how much money people have for this priority in terms of, what they can invest with, whatever, that's dependent on so many different things. Realize also, though, I only have like 30% of my company. Somebody can steal it. And now that the foreign investor has been incorporated, stealing it isn't a bad thing necessarily. Of course, in order to steal it, you might have to put your own company up at risk. So if you have what looks like a good company, you want to protect it. If you have kind of a lousy one, you might be willing to let somebody steal it away. I heard an interesting point for this guy holding the Wusong. I don't know how to take this. That may be a particularly bad private railway, or the rules may be poorly written. This is written the same in the text of the rules. One-off payment of either 40 yen when the last 2+2 trade is bought, or 70 when this is bought, or this when this is bought. Well, the last 2+2 was not bought, it was cleared out. And the question is, can I turn this in and grab a quick $40 right now? Which might be very helpful. Or do I have to actually wait until that train is bought? By which I mean somebody had to buy it. If it's that exact factor, well, then if the last 3+3 has disappeared in the same way, I could end up getting nothing from it. My assumption is it's when the train is cleared out. So at this point, I would be able to grab $40 for this. Prices for things. An extra $40 would get us maybe a share. I would have $150. I could buy 160 actually. I could buy 2 shares. Unfortunately, one of those companies is not available. So I could buy 2 shares of the Quinshin, and that would mean not protecting my own railway at all. And I like my railway, so I am not going to invest. Oh, the one is complete. I am not going to use that at this point. I don't think it helps me. First time through on the stock round, people just picking up an extra share of something. We'll talk about that. But this guy started a 30% share of the Nansheng, which is over here. That works nicely with his HKR. And he thinks he can get a nice synergy there, run over his ports. He's got the engineer, so he can put a D on one of these two. So getting the BC wasn't that big a hit. Remember, these guys don't go in D anyway. So, I don't know. I mean, if he had taken a 20% share, he could ensure that both his railways would run. You know, pretty much every railway he started, he could make sure it runs in the D phase as well. But he doesn't think he needs too many track lays. There isn't a lot of complicated track to build. Once you get out of the green stage into the browns, you're just upgrading cities, which it could be nice, I'm sure, but it's not like you're probably going to be fighting over track the way you are in some of the games. The XX games over here. Bought what was available is basically. This guy did the same thing, started at 80, but he only bought a 20% share so he can ensure that he gets to go in phase D. Now, the problem for these guys is there isn't much available for, under $100. So their basic choices were the new 2 companies, and that's it, because this QSR sold out, and the other cheap one, the HKR, was sold out last time. So these guys had to buy one of the new companies. And this guy looked and said, with 3 trains, it's hard to tell. He had enough money to buy any of the railways. Well, the Bizu doesn't look all that impressive to me. So the real choices were between the Baocheng, which is going to have 2 trains. At this stage in the game, I don't think it's that impressive. I'm taking my guess on the Wunan. I don't want 2 shares of it where I'm sitting I don't want 2 shares of it there where I'm sitting no matter what, but certainly not when it's holding 3 cheap trains. Getting one of these guys is kind of nice because they have this additional income for their prestige or whatever, so that's kind of appealing. Of course, the disadvantage of these guys is they've already run. So they're going to get one less run maybe than other companies in the same pulsings. There's kind of a reason not to buy things that have run, I guess. We don't know how that's going to fall. But it is something to keep in mind. Now, I know this guy has to buy another share. Well, he actually doesn't. He can buy a share of something other than the Xinguang, which might be wise. The only thing other than it being available, though, is the other new railway. And I'm probably better off grabbing this because that'll have 50% of it out and it'll go up in stock value, which can only be good, right? Except that other people will sell those stocks, so I don't know. And that purchase was the last one, so priority goes over here. I'm going to put this money kind of clustered near him because it's a little confusing. I wasn't sure which guy it belonged to. I immediately knew because I was just dealing with it. And you can see things are kind of crowded on my table. I thought this would fit nicely, but there's a lot of companies in this game. And there's an extra player, a 7-player game. Stock prices have been shifted. You can see the big guys, nobody sold, didn't sell out, but most of the others, all of the older ones and the JGG are all sold out. And now, after this guy's turn, we're down here on the SCR turn. And they get to do their thing. The tricky part, it's hard to kind of learn the patterns of this game. The SCR company here. I'm running a 2-train grate. Very soon I'm going to have more track perhaps, but that track may not be mutually usable. It depends. I could either branch up this way, cut through that way, or hook in this way, which doesn't really help me much. I got to consider where the UUs can go, and they can go all kind of places. And what I might be able to do with them. I'd like to go up here. The problem I'm finding myself in is, wow, no matter what turns into things, I'm probably going to want one of them plus trains. And a 3-train is looking really, really iffy for the SCR. Now, I've only got 20% of this sucker. I could just 30%. I could just keep kind of running it on the low and see what happens. Or I could buy that train, that 3-train now, which I can't even use until the 3 trains are out and I can upgrade to green. But I think I'm gonna hold off on that purchase and see how things fall. There's only 5 of these. Maybe everybody wants one. And the floating of the NJR has caused a phase change as I bought the first 3-train. A few things happen here. Companies have to have at least 30%. Now this is during the stock round in order to open. You don't have to, some of the games, 56 I think is one of them, where if you don't have the right amount of shares out in the operating round, you don't actually get to start, which can be really, really hard. A very painful thing. You have to be very careful with that. Green tiles show up. Companies can lay 2 yellow tiles per turn if they want. They can buy trains from each other, the same director. And now the biggie, those companies that have 50% of their shares in play, those little markers come off and they get the rest of their capitalization. New starting company, the JGG, able to lay green track and dropped a dot down. Bought a 3-train, but it also paid a couple $100 for a 2-train off the CKR. We have reasons we want that to succeed. And now both companies have, you know, fair trainage and fair money. The JGG had some extra cash right now, so because it had reached its sellout point. Finish up the cycle of the operating round. A lot of trains falling. new companies obviously each bought one. Maybe not so obvious that they absolutely have to, but they did, as well as additional trains from other companies. The HKR, upgrading its own. This was kind of an iffy thing. If I could hook up to this, it would be great. I didn't realize what the track was there. Let me rethink that, his placement, because he's not going to be able to connect because of this. I was just hooking up the green track. I don't think there were any straights available, so I'm going to slip him in like this instead. Now, that means, yeah, I only need one train. I'm fine. Okay. Yeah, I was really looking at connecting these guys up, and I forgot this is a special city, and it will not upgrade to be able to connect that until this one. I tried every way, but this stupid X means it can't. I knew it was special in terms of price, and everybody's been trying to get to it, but and then our next company was this QSR, which also bought a train because I got runs all over the place up here, which, you know, make lots of money. That's the goal of an XX, right? So putting lots of trains on things seems like a good idea. We're going to hit the communist era. We can swallow during that. We have enough to get us there, you know. Bad news on the moving front. The guy couldn't get the truck up here, so now he's doing a shuttle service where he's renting a U-Haul, loading it up, and it's going to run me another $400 on top of everything else. This is legitimate, basically. I mean, but something neither I nor the driver am happy about having had happen. About this game, it's harder to reconstruct things. I mean, there's a lot of cleverness in it, but it's harder to reconstruct, say, you know, whether the miners, the privates paid out or something like that, whether everybody got their cash for them. Yes, putting the chits on top would help, but assuming I'm not doing that, I'm used to kind of being able to look up my mistakes. You know, hey, this guy had no money. How could that be? Yeah, well, they paid out before he bought his shares. You know, the stock round came in between. Yeah. Interesting case right now. So if I'm running the 5, which I am right now for the British investor, this would be the ideal tile placement. It's one of the few, maybe the only one, that actually lets me use the 3 train. But it's got consequences. Consequences that most XX games don't have to the same degree. I play that there, and I'm never going down this way. Now, I could maybe make a run down this way, but again, that kind of shuts me off in a way I didn't want. Long-term prospects make me say, I don't want to do that. Now, I could just hook this up. There is, I think, because there's these, I think there's certainly the straight with the hook. That would crash my private in, which this is not the optimal time to do that. So instead I'm going to upgrade this and maybe hook this up as my run instead. Following that, the Portuguese were scheduled, track already laid, to crash into the Wunan. That's happened. We took the dot, even though it's only our $40 dot. This is a good place to have a dot. We're set up to get into Hong Kong later on. Right now we're getting into here. That's cool. Hong Kong turns to shit during the revolutionary period. Now we're back to the major companies. And I would guess we're going to see the 3 trains sell out. Just, they're kind of cheap and they have a little bit more lasting power. There are people who definitely want them. He does. Yeah, there's only one left, so yeah. It's going to go away very quickly. Now the BCR ran. It upgraded this to dip the CKR over. I think it's going to be easier to get in this way, so I wanted the wide curve. Might as well be, that's all well on that. The run was only for $7 or 70, but you had 50 because of the price position, so it's paying out 12 a share. So $48 went into here, and I definitely want that train. Okay, so the CKR brand. There aren't all the really funky pieces, notably not the two loops in different directions or a loop and a wide curve in the different direction. There's that, yeah, that one existed. That didn't really help me though. I needed there's a particularly nasty looking one. That one's pretty bad too. That's in a lot of the games. It's not in this one. The games that have that one tend to have both. So I expected to see it. It's not there. But I'll try to make my breakout, somewhere down here. Remember, there's no brown upgrade, so this, for example, is fixed for the game, which is pretty nasty. And we picked up the first 3+3. Not much changes with the 3+3s. The train limit goes down to 3. Nobody went, whole hog with four 2 trains or something crazy like that. The trains are a little more expensive. The 2 trains are 100 instead of the 80 or whatever. But now there's only 4 of these left. Rocket of China becoming more and more interesting as the price goes up. If this has the choice between 3+3 and 4, well, it's going to be up to the SCR which one it wants, because they're both viable. I don't know what the answer is right now. I'm not sure that the 4 is necessarily better than a 3+3. But it all depends on where I drop my dot, where I can get my dot. Because right now, I don't have much. Here, got to run down here. Now I'm probably going to buy a dot here. Basically, 2 trains, a 2 and a 2+2. That's kind of pleasing. What it allows me, first guy to play a double yellow as well, I think. A lot of the games that allow double yellow, well, some of the games, the first ones I saw with it, were games where there's a lot of space to cover. And so it was really kind of important to build out the, framework of the track. This isn't really like that. So a lot of the times you want to break into something anyway. You're going to have to be doing upgrades. But with the limited number of upgrades, maybe building a second parallel track is a more feasible situation. Anyway, still not trying to connect up those Russians. They're doing fine on their own. All right, the Wunan with its big 3 trains managed to run dot here, 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 and then here. No, I think I counted the bonus in there. No, I'm going to have to recount it. It came to 24, but I think that's including the bonus, so it should be a 29 run. 34, I hope I said. Nice big payout. The question is, when you normally get this big a payout in an XX game, you're like, well, I'm not going to have these trains for very long. Well, let's swallow. I don't have the money to buy more trains, nor do I have space. That's not a big deal. But, I need operating expenses. And that's kind of where the question lies, is do I pay this out? There's a reason not to pay it out and getting the cash, but on the other hand, I think I am going to pay this round out, hoping that the 4s don't come out. The reason being, I get to stay in that +5 income zone if I pay it out. This is dangerous, though. That money could be very important. Yeah, I think I have to swallow it. I think I just take a little bit of hit in income and drop that $340 into my company treasury. CR buys another train, and top down here, but the train is the big one. That ensures that the Wunan decision wasn't that horrible. I'm not going to be going into a stock round with way too little capital. Yes, I'm going to lose money off this, but if the trains fall really, really fast, this could be, it could have been bad not to put that cash in there. I probably still have 2 trains, but this was a nice big meaty run of the SCR. Instead of paying for that train, I'm gonna cash in the Rocket of China. Since this has no other effect in the game, I'll drop it out into the box. It changes the SCR run because they could do it before their turn started, and it does not advance this marker. So this goes back to the CKR, I think, which invalidates what I said about the Wunan. Okay, so I got to recalculate my run. I had only made 8 a share. I can make more with 2 trains. Not necessarily the trains I want at this moment, but in the long run, I think I do want a 3 plus 3. I think. I definitely need 2 trains. So yeah, my run's going to change a little. And I don't know how much that's going to be. So I ran, geez, I should have, yeah, I ran for 8 because I ran into Taiwan. So my second train, what did I lay as a track is the question. I laid the track that let me, no. I laid the track that let me get down here and drop the dot, which, okay. So my second train is going to only run for 6 more a share, which puts it to 14. I'd really like to get another run to Taiwan. That'll happen. The NJR with kind of a crappy little run. 8 a share. I mean, it just started, double play. Buys a train for $1 from the HKR. One of those deuces. Other people are invested in the HKR. It has money. I'd like to see the NJR do a little better, especially as we enter the communist period and stock values aren't going to change, so that I can just, run things. That doesn't change the train purchase marker either, though. Okay, the HKR, because it's buying another train, felt safe paying out. I know this is kind of weird because I'm eating through these, but the biggest danger is we hit wherever the train marker was and all the 3 plus 3s go away, and then we're just in trouble. The 4s are going to happen. I think there are enough 3 plus 3s that we're not going to wipe the route out before I get another run. So I have pushed my stock value up a little bit. The danger, I have no money basically, no operating money at all. So I am almost assuredly going to have to swallow next time. Slight advantage the HKR has, I got 2 longer lasting trains. The WNR was sitting on a bunch of stuff that could have gone. And there's a lot of trains to be purchased, but if there's a stock round and new companies are coming out, let's say they start, well, they couldn't start higher than the WNR, so that's not too much of a danger. But anyway, the decision was made. I've been regretting it since, but it seemed the safer choice. Now that I know more with the HKR in terms of, I've seen other companies run, I feel a little more comfortable they're not going to be buying up those trains. The QSR upgrades, runs its 3 trains. With the bonus, came out to a 24 a share payment. That's pretty sweet. I did pay it out. Again, I don't want to make the mistake that I feel like the Wunan did, but he's in a position where it is riskier. He's only got 1 3 train left, but he has a little bit of cash, so maybe he could survive. He also has not yet tapped into half his revenue, and that's another 350, which isn't very good, but it'll help. With the communist era, we should be able to survive it, right? I'm assuming. That whips us through the set, and we do a little bit of fiddling around with the mechanical side of things. Obviously, you could slide these back and forth on alternating turns, but for me, the way I play, it's more valuable for me to have a clear, this is always how how the operating round starts. And I suspect with the mechanism of this game that probably is wise until you feel really, really comfortable with it. You know, if you're sitting down for 4 hours straight or whatever, or longer, I don't know how long this is going to take, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a really huge one. The trains are coming up pretty fast, so hard running players will probably get through this fairly quickly, I think. If you're really, really comfortable with the mechanisms of the game, yeah, I can see not, you know, shifting these over and then shifting them back the next run through. And you could use the little arrows to indicate which direction you're going in as a mnemonic device. But for me, it's easier just to do it as the little things seem to indicate. Another kind of a painful choice for the Russians. I have the express fear that nobody's going to buy a train. The Binzu might want one. They might very well want one. The problem with nobody buying a train is I walk into the next stock round without the cash. If the Binzu wants one, it probably wants to be hooked up. The other side of it, though, is the Russians have a 3+3 train available to them. I could hook to this and run 1, 2, 3 plus 2, which is pretty good. I won't be able to use this. I can lay some track there. Geez. I don't know. The Binzu does not have the cash to buy a train unless the Russians crash into it. And as far as I can figure it, safety first. I want to make sure I have that cash. You know, trying to eke out a little bit more money into the Russians so that I get a little more on my 20%, so this guy gets a little bit more. It just doesn't seem worth it. I get another share. That'll pay out some. I'm probably fine just hooking it up. And as the Brits fall into the Xinjiang, that's the end of the foreign investors. And, you know, they're an interesting little mechanism. I don't know of another game that has something quite like that, where I'm sure, you know, there's so many different 18xx's out there now. In the last 20 years or so many have been made that, you know, but this is one of the something news in this game, and it's kind of cute. It forces you into some interesting decisions. There's no question of that. And now up to the companies. PR sets itself up with some kind of nice track looping into there, and it's swallowed in order to buy another train. And I still got a pile of money coming to me, but that's fine. I'm going to need that. To swallow that extra train that can run this route, we'll hook up somewhere else, who knows where. That seems really, really appealing to me. There's one more 3+3, and when that sells, I get another $100. So there's another reason for me to kind of speed that around. Yes, I would have made a decent amount of money off this run. 22 run is pretty nice, but I think I need to push those trains a little bit. My stuff came as I was in the midst of trying to repair the CKR's turn. I think I've got it right. I had counted their run wrong because I counted them with the trains for this. But anyway, their run is only a 17. It was actually lower, but I had different track lays based on what I thought their trains were. So we got them up here with a dot. And I don't think they want to buy a train. They've got one of these 3+3s. Usually buying multiple of the same expiration date trains is a bad idea. So we're just going to pop them forward and say we're all good on them. The Binzu has a lot of plus action going on down here. Even though it might kill one of my trains very shortly, I'm buying the last 3 plus 3 after running. The run was 18 plus 5, 23. I paid it out. I got more money coming from the stock value, from the capitalization, and I think I'll be able to do a better swallow at some point, maybe once the Trans-Siberian's built. So we hooked up into here and started on that. But that does something. The Wonsong, Wusong, last 3 plus 3 has been bought. The owner gets a quick $100 for whenever the next stock round happens. Puts us here, and look, it's been delayed some more. And if you remember, there was some confusion about the WNR's run, and I'm having a hell of a hard time coming up with the run I had. Well, I failed to. The best I can find is a 27. I don't know. I don't see anything that could have been closed off that mattered. So I'm assessing it at 27, paying out. Last time I think I had it at 29 and it bumped up to 34 with the plus 5. That may have been a mistake, and I may have cheated some money into the railway. In fact, I'm pretty sure I did. Which means that I owe $20. So let me dump $20 out of the Wunan, because it did swallow. So it's easy enough to fix. I don't see a possibility of a larger run. Maybe I was counting Taiwan as 50 because the one guy can do that. I'm not sure. Because that would have definitely fixed it. Anyway, I'm trying to break into here, see what I can do in that thing. I don't have any dots left though, so the Wunan's probably not going to be able to improve off of what it's doing right now, and it runs out of track lays in phase D, whenever that is. Where is that? We're still in B, but C comes down here with the browns. D is going to be when the grays come out in the 8 train. That's a long time from now. I have the feeling most of the track will be built by that point in the game. The SCR starts to push the trains. No swallow. I had a ton of money and still do on board this thing. But I managed to set up a nice little run. Now, what I really want is plus trains because I'm in plus train territory. But I don't know. The 4 train seems valuable. That's going to cause some things to happen. First of all, the 2s are going to rust. Companies are going to open with 40%. Now we're in the communist takeover where private companies stop paying dividends. Foreign investors, there aren't any left. No share price movement, though, and no sales of share by the director. These are 2 things that are going to really kind of influence play for a while. Well, we hope. But all the 2s are dead. And they will get recycled, though. I got to be careful. Should be 10 of them down here. There may be some more to go in here. But these guys, I believe, cost $200 each instead of $100. They can help you a lot, though. A company that doesn't have a lot of cash can get that second bonus run, say, out of Taiwan once those become available. I think they come out in the 6s. Yeah. Oh, they cost $250. A couple other companies, new guys, paid out. They're not paying a whole hell of a lot. So, I don't know. I mean, it kind of doesn't make a difference whether you swallow or pay out right now. This one could definitely use more money for a train. This one, they got some juggle room, but probably could use more money for a train too. But I'm kind of thinking maybe the trains came out and we're going to have a stock round soon. So let's get some cash in hand, you know. Of course, that's dangerous because if there's a stock round, new companies might float. So that's an issue. But the HKR wanted to lay this and drop a dot. Didn't have money for it, so I have to swallow. Now, I had a big swallow, actually. It was $360 because the bonuses, due to high stock value, still come into play. It's just the stock value doesn't change anymore. That would have been nice cash to put in my pocket, but I really, really, really need this dot. Or maybe this one, but I need a dot that gets me in there with the ferry company, which still exists, even though it doesn't pay any money. And that one looks more appealing to me than the other. And the last company, the QSR, decided I really do need a train. Uh-oh, I got more money. Forgot about that. I ran for 8 a share, which is crap, but it should have actually been 13 a share. Anyway, I needed to swallow it in order to buy another 4 train. And there's still like 3 left, so there's a bit of time before things start getting weird, or unweird, as the case may be. Now the mechanical part's easier. You have to slide these back still, assuming I'm doing that. These guys are gone. They're not producing money. They don't have runs anymore. And these, I don't have to flip. Technically, I wouldn't have to flip them anyway. I like doing it. It helps me somehow. I don't know how. After a couple of run for cash companies, I decided with the JGG to swallow and pick up a 4 train. They don't have more money coming. I'm probably going to need more swallows, but I've got room to run that extra train. I'm hitting the central city of Beijing, I assume, with a B on it, yeah. In order, I'm going to be getting good money in on it. I don't have as much cash as any of the other players, really, so keeping things flowing by buying another train seems not like a bad idea in some ways. Finish things up with the HKR paying out. It's kind of short on cash, but whatever. And then the QSR decides to swallow, even though it has better trains, and it's kind of short on cash too, but it's running, and a number of companies are meaning to do the run Beijing to Beijing, which, eventually is awesome. Right now, it's sort of rich, but, there are other 40-point cities kicking around, so it's not that big a deal. There aren't many 50-point cities kicking around, like none. So this route becomes interesting, but this is a 30 and a 20, so that 50 isn't necessarily all that good. And these both count as major cities, unlike, say, Taiwan, which is really bonus, because it counts as a doinker. And with this guy pumping it to 50, for now. A little later, it becomes garbage. But for now, it's kind of interesting still. As we push through, the company is getting down to the guy who gets to decide if there's a stock round. I mean, everybody's gotten the decision. Only one company's wanted a train, and that was this NJR here. He would have needed to swallow twice to do it. He was never willing to bite that bullet, and now he doesn't have the cash to do it, so might as well pay out, get the most cash that I can, either start a new company with or buy up shares of things that are going to make money. Not a lot of, this has just not worked out well as a company. Mainly, this K here was pretty bad for him. I don't know if he designed that was going to be there. I don't remember who did that. But that's ended up really kind of stymieing him. And not just him, but the SCR. The SCR is starting to head this way because of it. Eventually, and this is what's weird, eventually the gray cities do turn into 3-point cities, some of them. So you've got like the option to go for bigger cities or not. And the actually turn into joint cities. They conglomerate. You're not allowed 2 tokens on a single hex. That's a pretty standard thing in an XX game, so you won't like collapse into yourself in that way. Although I've seen games that were mistakenly played that way, where you could have tokens in both the cities in a given hex. So that puts it over on the JGG, and they are probably have no interest in buying another train. Their only regret is they don't have much money on hand. There's other people who've just been hoarding up the money. And I think this is the point where you kind of look and say, the game is largely decided, in terms of there's some people who are just out of it and some people who have so much money that unless they really screw up their purchases, they're ahead. They're going to have more shares. And some of that has to do with making sure you have enough shares. I feel like the people who've gotten a lot of cash are people who bought a lot of shares early in the game. Now, there may be some problematic companies out there, though. It comes to mind. It's not that bad. It's got some cash. It can afford a train. It can afford the 4+4 train at once. It would like to get the first one, or else it essentially takes a swallow that it could have bought a 4 train with to forestall that, but it really doesn't want a 4 train. So that's going to be kind of a problem for them. But there's other companies, well, I don't know, this doesn't look healthy, but he has a pile of money on it waiting to happen. So if he buys up the next 2 shares, that becomes available. BCR has money still coming to it. I'm trying to see who doesn't. Quinshin doesn't, but they have a fair capability to swallow if they want to. He hasn't made a lot of money either. Yeah. Look at the piles of money. This has just been a good company. That's the main thing. That Taiwan line really helped it. Now that goes away. But so what? Then I have an okay company with a lot of money on it that, doesn't have great prospects, but my next company maybe can, or something I take over. Why does this guy have so much money? He's got 5 shares, 3, 5, 4, 5, 6, and he's not doing as well. So maybe my statement doesn't quite work. This guy's got 6. He's not doing all that well. My feeling had been you want to get those shares out and get them early. But, the difference in how much things are paying is a pretty big deal, too. How many trains you can get on a company, how well you can run it. Yeah. And as the JGG decides not to buy a train, doesn't have the money. I mean, he could juggle, but nor swallow, which is a harder call, but I'm like, well, if I don't buy the train, which I'm not going to do, I am definitely going into a stock round, and I want the cash for that. And yeah, this is going to kind of suck, but maybe the Chen Kung can swallow for both of them or something. I don't know. Because I want this extra cash on hand to buy extra shares. This kind of neat little rail line. It took me forever to find this piece. I actually thought I had used them all up or something, but there's one there, but there's 2 of each, and I couldn't find it, and finally I found I had hidden it somewhere in the stacks. That's always a danger because of the limited number of pieces. All right, let's go through the stock round, and then we'll jump in, coming back here. I know it's running over an hour because of that, but I really don't like to stop just before the stock round. It's going to be hard decisions, though. This I can get rid of. It has absolutely no function in the game anymore. It just produced income to begin with. So here's the problem. I look at somebody like Bijou. They have enough money to buy a company and maybe hold their company as well. But now comes, do I want to put more cash into this because maybe nobody else will be buying it? You're allowed to hold 100% of this. I didn't mention that during the intro. Am I going to put more cash into that, or do I want, a company, because we're going to be hitting the Browns very, very shortly. This is gone. Remember, the trains get wiped out. The current train gets wiped out if you go around. So the 4+4s are coming out, which means the Browns are starting, which means I can start a company. Brown is the beginning of era C that only has C and D without any regrets whatsoever and get a 30% share. Which matters if you're looking at certificate limit. I'm not sure that there's anything I terribly want to start though. And I feel like the Binzu needs money. So given all of this, let's put this on the choo-choo. So I know I'm in a stock round, and load this one up because I think this is going to be some real killer decisions here. You know, in terms of this, yeah, these are what, 120 bucks each. It's not bad, and there's 500 bucks waiting in there that I kind of need. Well, let's say I put 2 of those aside. That leaves me, there's 10 bucks more here, 270 bucks. A 30% share, I can start at 90 bucks. There's slots for 90. So maybe I want to do that first. That's kind of where I'm looking. Get a company laid down. With only one company, I got problems. So I probably want to get my second company. All right, let's load this one up and I'll come back maybe with a clearer mind.